I built the same AI assistant twice. Same job both times. Read my messy work notes, pull out what actually matters, and draft the weekly summary I send my team. Build 1 runs on an open weight model, the kind you download and host yourself. Build 2 runs on a closed frontier model I reach through an API, someone else's servers doing the thinking. For years the answer here was boring. Closed wins, stop asking. That is no longer obvious. According to Stanford HAI's 2026 AI Index report, as of March 2026, the best closed model leads the best open weight model by just 3.3%. 3 points. That is close enough that your choice finally, genuinely matters, and that is exactly why I built both and made them fight. 6 rounds today. Setup, learning curve, flexibility, maintenance, failures, and the verdict by who you actually are. Same problem. 2 brains, 1 on a scoreboard. By the end, you'll know which one belongs in your workflow this month. And, spoiler, the best answer might be a mix of both. Round 1 starts right now. Round 1, Setup. The open weight build asks something the closed one never does. Where will this thing actually live? You download the model weights and you run them on your own machine or a server you rent. The first time I did this, I'll be honest, I stared at the download bar wondering if I'd bitten off too much. But here's the reveal that changed how I think about all of it. DeepSeek trained its frontier-level R1 reasoning model on just 512 NVIDIA H800 chips, and the whole training run cost about $294,000. That's according to its peer-reviewed paper in Nature, published September 18, 2025. Frontier behavior, not tens of millions of dollars. That is the entire reason open models are even in this fight. And your setup is nothing like that. You're not training anything, you're just running a finished brain. Try this week. Pick 1 small open model, follow 1 official quick start guide, and get it answering a single question locally. Don't automate anything yet. Just prove the brain runs on hardware you control. That first local reply feels like magic, and it's the moment the open path stops being theory. Same round, the closed build, and it could not be more different. There is no brain to host. I signed up, created an API key, pasted it into my script, and the frontier model answered on someone else's servers within minutes. No download bar, no hardware question, no. Will my laptop survive this? Say you start right after breakfast. By your second coffee, you have a working call to a model that, days ago, was somebody's research headline. That speed is not a small thing. The single biggest reason people quit before they build anything is friction on day 1, and the closed path deletes most of it. The trade you're making is quiet but real. You don't own the brain. You rent access to it, and the company can change price or retire that access whenever they choose. But for a first working version, nothing beats it. Try this week. Grab a key from 1 provider, make exactly 1 API call that summarizes a paragraph you paste in, and stop there. Feel how fast idea becomes it works. That momentum is the closed model's opening punch, and in round 1 it lands clean. Round 2, learning curve, and this is where the open build teaches you things the closed one hides. Because you're hosting the model, you meet all its moving parts, how much memory it eats, how smaller version trades speed for smarts, what a context window actually costs you in practice. Nobody's abstracting that away. The first week I ran an open model, I learned more about how these systems really work than in a whole year of just calling an API. Here's my little story. I asked it a question, got a slow answer, and instead of shrugging, I could see exactly why and fix it. That feedback loop is the education. The catch is honesty. It's deeper. You'll read documentation, you'll tune settings, you'll occasionally restart something at 11 at night. But those skills transfer to every open model that comes after, and new ones drop constantly. Try this week. Run the same prompt on 2 different sizes of the same open model, and just notice the difference in speed and quality. That 1 experiment teaches you the core trade-off of this entire field. Open makes you a mechanic, not just a driver, and mechanics never get stranded. Same round, the closed build. Here the learning curve is gentle on purpose. The company spent enormous effort, so you don't have to think about memory, hardware, or tuning. You learn 1 thing: how to write a good prompt and read a clean response. That's it. For most people, that's a genuine gift. My honest take: if your goal is to ship a useful assistant this month and never open a server terminal, the closed path respects your time. But there's a hidden cost to easy, and I want you to see it. When everything just works, you never learn why it works, so the day it breaks, or the day you need something the platform won't give you, you're stuck with no map. You traded understanding for speed. Sometimes that's exactly the right trade. Try this week. Take one closed model reply that felt too generic, and rewrite your prompt 3 different ways to make it sharper. That prompt skill is the one thing that transfers everywhere, open or closed, this year or next. The closed model won't turn you into an engineer, but it will make you productive by Friday, and for a lot of people, Friday is the whole point. Round 3, flexibility, and this is the open model's home turf. Because the weights live with you, you can do things the closed world simply won't let you. Run it completely offline, on a plane, in a locked-down office, with sensitive notes that must never leave the building. Fine-tune it on your own writing so the summaries sound like you, not like a corporate memo. Swap in a newer open model next month without rewriting your whole workflow. My favorite moment building this. I pointed the Open Assistant at private client notes and never once worried where that text was traveling because the answer was nowhere. It stayed on my machine. That's not a small feature. For some jobs, it's the only feature that matters. The freedom here is real, and it's total. Try this week. Take one task you'd never paste into a random online box, something genuinely private, and run it through a local open model instead. Feel the difference between "I hope this is safe" and "this literally never left my computer." Open doesn't just match the closed model on capability anymore. It hands you control the closed one structurally cannot. Round 3, clear points for open. Same round, the closed build, and it's not helpless here. It just flexes differently. The closed model usually sits right at the frontier, so on the hardest reasoning tasks it often has an edge, and that edge shows up exactly when your problem gets nasty. It also comes wrapped in an ecosystem. Tools, vision, huge context windows, all maintained for you. That's real flexibility of a different kind, flexibility of capability, not of control. But here's the wall you'll eventually hit. You can only do what the provider allows. A new rule, changed pricing, a feature pulled, your region blocked, and your workflow bends to their decision, not yours. You can't run it offline. You can't crack it open. You rent power, and rent has landlords. My take. For cutting-edge reasoning you don't want to babysit, closed flex is hard. For anything private, offline, or deeply customized, it hits a ceiling fast. Try this week. Take your hardest, weirdest task, the one that needs real reasoning, and run it on a top closed model to see the frontier ceiling for yourself. Then remember, that power lives on someone else's terms. Round 3 splits. Open wins control, closed wins raw reach. Round 4, maintenance, and now the open model hands you the bill for all that freedom. You are the ops team. The machine reboots, you restart the model. A new, better open model drops, and they drop constantly, and you're the one deciding whether to migrate. Storage fills, a dependency shifts, and nobody emails you a warning. My real story. My Open Assistant went quiet for 2 days before I noticed the process had died after an update. 2 days of no summaries, and the only person paged was me, because there was no one else. That's the tax on ownership. Now, the flip side is genuine and it's huge. Nobody can deprecate your model out from under you. The open weights you have today work forever, exactly as they are, even if the internet forgets them tomorrow. Closed can't promise you that. Try this week. If you run anything local, set one tiny automatic health check that pings you the moment it stops, a 30-second safeguard that saves you a silent 2-day outage. Maintenance is the round open loses on comfort, but wins on permanence. You carry the weight, and in exchange, nobody can ever take your tools away. Same round, the closed build. And here it shines quietly. Maintenance is basically someone else's job. The provider upgrades the model, patches the security holes, keeps the servers breathing while you sleep. You wake up and your assistant is often sharper than yesterday, and you did nothing. For a set-and-forget workflow, that's a lot of peace. But I have to show you the other edge of that same knife, because it's the closed model's deepest risk. The same company that maintains your model can also retire it. A version you built months of work around gets deprecated, and suddenly your careful prompts behave differently or stop working entirely on their schedule, not yours. You don't own the thing you depend on. My honest read, closed maintenance is a dream right up until the day it isn't. Try this week. Wherever you rely on a closed model, write down which exact model version you're using, and never hard assume it lives forever. Plan one fallback. That single note turns a future outage from a panic into a shrug. Round 4. Closed wins your weekends. Open wins your independence. Pick which of those you can't live without because you're really choosing between them. Round 5. Failures, because both of these break, and how they break tells you who they're really for. The open model fails in loud, physical, fixable ways. It runs out of memory and crashes. It answers slower than you'd like on weak hardware. A giant document overflows its context, and it quietly forgets the beginning. Annoying. But here's the gift. Every one of those failures is yours to see and yours to fix. Nothing is hidden. My story. My open build once mangled a long report, and because I could inspect everything, I found it in 10 minutes. The input was simply too big, so I chunked it and it never happened again. Try this week. Deliberately feed your open model something too long and watch how it fails, so the day it matters you already know the fix. The deeper point about open failures is that they respect you. They show you the machinery. You're never staring at a black box that just says something went wrong with no next step. It breaks right in front of you in the open where you can actually do something about it. That transparency is worth far more than it sounds when your workflow is on the line. Round 5. Open fails honestly. Same round, the closed build, and its failures are sneakier because they happen somewhere you can't reach. The API times out, and you don't know why. A safety filter refuses a perfectly reasonable request and won't explain itself. The model gets silently updated, and your once reliable prompt starts drifting. Same words, different behavior. No changelog you were ever shown. My frustrating story. A closed workflow I trusted started returning slightly worse summaries one week, and I burned an entire afternoon convinced it was my code. It wasn't. Something upstream had shifted. You can't inspect it. You can only work around it. That's the cost of renting a brain you can't open. Now, to be fair, closed failures are also rarer for the average task because a whole team is paid to prevent them. You trade the rare, mysterious failure for far fewer failures overall. For many people, that's a good trade. Try this week. Log every closed model response your workflow depends on with a timestamp, so if behavior ever drifts, you have proof instead of a hunch. That log is your only window into a system you don't control. Round 5. Open fails in the open, closed fails behind glass. Choose the failure you can actually handle. Round 6. The verdict, and I'm going to tell you exactly who the open build is for, no hedging. Choose open if privacy is non-negotiable, if your notes, clients, or code can't legally or comfortably leave your control. Choose open if you want to actually understand these systems, not just rent them, because owning the brain is the fastest education there is. Choose open if you're building something that needs to still work in 5 years no matter what any company decides, since the weights you hold today can't be deprecated out from under you. And choose open if you love the tinkering. If I can crack it open and fix it myself sounds like freedom and not a chore. This is the path for the builder, the privacy-bound, the long-term owner. It costs you setup and maintenance, and it pays you back in control and permanence. Try this week. Write one sentence. My work must stay private, or I want to own my tools. And if it's true, your answer is already open. The whole reason this is even a real choice now is that open finally caught the frontier. For the right person, open isn't the compromise. It's the entire point. Same round, the closed verdict, and it's just as clear. Choose closed if speed to shipping is everything. If you want a working assistant this week and never want to think about servers, memory, or updates. Choose closed if you need the absolute frontier on your hardest reasoning, and you'd rather rent that power than build around a model you host yourself. Choose closed if maintenance is a burden you'd gladly hand to someone else. If they keep it running while I sleep, is exactly the deal you want. This is the path for the shipper, the non-tinkerer, the person whose genius is their work, not their infrastructure. It costs you control and independence, and it pays you back in speed and calm. And here's my honest secret, the thing this whole duel was hiding. I kept both. The closed model drafts my fast, everyday summaries. The open model handles anything private or permanent. The real fight was never open versus closed, it was job versus job. Try this week. Sort your tasks into must be private or permanent and just needs to be fast, and let each pile pick its own brain. That one sort, honestly, is the whole answer. So here's the honest scoreboard. Open wins privacy, control, understanding, and permanence. Your tools, your machine, yours forever. Closed wins setup speed, low maintenance, and raw frontier reach. Power on tap. Someone else keeping it alive. Neither is the right answer, and anyone who tells you open is a toy or closed is a trap is selling you something. The truth is quieter. This is a real choice now only because open-weight models finally caught up to the frontier. Stanford's 2026 AI Index report puts the best closed model just 3.3% ahead as of March 2026, and DeepSeek's peer-reviewed Nature paper from September 2025 proved frontier-level training doesn't need a fortune. So pick by the job in front of you, not by the hype around either camp, and I use both is not a cop-out, it's the pro move. If you want more honest duels like this, real builds, real trade-offs, no sponsor spin, subscribe because that's the entire point of this channel. And tell me in the comments, is your next assistant open, closed, or a mix? And what's the one task that decides it for you? I read these. See you in the next one.